Dick Barnett died at 88. How he was treated was sad. Dick Barnett died at 88, but what happened before that was deeply unfair. This NBA champion and Hall of Famer faced a legal fight that treated him like property instead of a person. His story shows how the old basketball system was broken and wrong. Dick was born in Gary, Indiana in 1936. His dad worked in a steel mill. His mom worked at a candy store. Dick also worked at the steel mill to help his family. This taught him to work hard from a young age. He went to Theodore Roosevelt High School in Gary. Dick was amazing at basketball. He led his team to the state championship. This game was special. It was the first time two mostly black teams played for the state title. Dick was already breaking barriers in sports. College scouts noticed Dick. He got a scholarship to Tennessee A and I State College. This school is now called Tennessee State University. Dick played for coach John McClendon. McClendon would change Dick's life forever. At Tennessee State, Dick got the nickname Dick the Skull. He was incredible. Under McClendon's coaching, Dick led the team to 3 straight NAIA championships from 1957 to 1959. They won 36 games in a row. Dick won 2 tournament MVP awards in 1958 and 1959. He was named All-American 3 times. Dick created his famous question mark jump shot at Tennessee State. He would kick his legs back when he shot with his left hand. This weird form made him hard to guard. Defenders could not time his shot right. It became his signature move. But there was a problem. Coach McClendon tried to get Tennessee State into the NCAA. The NCAA said no. They did not want black colleges in their tournament. This was pure racism. The NCAA wanted to keep black schools separate. Dick's amazing college success happened in a system that treated black athletes as second class. The Syracuse Nationals picked Dick 4th overall in the 1959 NBA draft. This was very high. It showed how good he was. Dick made his NBA debut on December 1st, 1959. He played as the 6th man behind Larry Costello and Hal Greer. In his first season, he averaged 12.4 points per game. His second season was even better at 16.9 points per game, but Dick wanted more. In 1961, he made a bold choice. He left the NBA to join the Cleveland Pipers in the new American Basketball League. The ABL was trying to compete with the NBA. George Steinbrenner owned the Pipers. Yes, the same Steinbrenner who later owned the Yankees. Why did Dick leave? Money was part of it. The Pipers offered him $13,000 for 1 year. The Syracuse Nationals only offered $11,500. But the real reason was coach John McClendon. McClendon was coaching the Pipers. Dick wanted to play for his old college coach again. Dick helped the Pipers win the 1961-62 ABL championship. He made the All-ABL first team. He proved he could star in any league. But his success came at a huge cost. The Syracuse Nationals were furious. They said Dick still belonged to them. They filed a lawsuit to stop him from playing. The case was called Central New York Basketball, Inc. v. Barnett. This case would change Dick's life and show how unfair the old system was. The Nationals used something called the reserve clause. This clause let teams keep players forever, even after contracts ended. Players had no choice. They could only play for one team or not play at all. It was like slavery, but for sports. The court case was brutal for Dick. The judge said Dick's basketball skills were special, unique, unusual, and extraordinary. The judge said his services had peculiar value which cannot be reasonably or adequately compensated for in damages at law. This sounds like praise, but it was actually terrible. The judge was saying Dick was so good that losing him would hurt Syracuse too much. So Dick had to stay with Syracuse or not play basketball at all. On December 21st, 1961, the court ruled against Dick. He was banned from playing for the Pipers. For 2 whole months, Dick could not play basketball anywhere. He could not even practice with his team. His career was on hold because of a legal system that treated players like property. Think about how wrong this was. Dick was a grown man. He wanted to work for a different company that paid him more money. But the court said no. The court said Syracuse owned him like a thing, not a person. The case dragged on for months. Dick lost the prime of his career sitting on the sidelines. Finally, there was a handshake agreement between Steinbrenner and Syracuse general manager Dick Biasone. On September 7th, 1962, Syracuse sold Dick's rights to the Los Angeles Lakers for $35,000. This was the highest cash-for-player deal in NBA history at that time. But think about what this means. Syracuse sold Dick like he was a car or a house. They made a huge profit from owning another human being's right to work. The $35,000 was more than twice the average NBA salary of $15,000 back then. It was also much more than Dick's own $11,500 offer from Syracuse. This showed how valuable Dick was, but he saw none of this money. It all went to Syracuse for selling his rights. Dick finally joined the Lakers in 1962. He played 3 seasons there from 1962 to 1965. He was the sixth man again, playing behind superstars Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. Dick averaged 16.8 points, 3.0 rebounds, and 2.7 assists per game with the Lakers. It was in Los Angeles that Dick got his most famous nickname. Legendary announcer Chick Hearn called him "Fallback Baby." Dick would say this phrase to defenders after making his question mark shot. It became part of basketball history. On October 14, 1965, Dick was traded to the New York Knicks. This trade changed everything. In his first season with the Knicks, Dick averaged 23.1 points per game. He was finally the star player he always could be. Dick made his only NBA All-Star team in 1968. He helped guide young players like Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, and Bill Bradley. Dick was a veteran leader on a team that was building something special. The Knicks won NBA championships in 1970 and 1973. Dick played a huge role in both titles. In the 1970 NBA Finals, he averaged 18 points per game against the Lakers. Sweet revenge against his old team. Dick played his final NBA game in 1973. He was released on October 23rd, 1973. He finished his career with 15,358 points. The Knicks retired his number 12 jersey in 1990. This was a huge honor, but Dick's story did not end with basketball. An Achilles injury late in his career made him think about life after sports. He called it a transformative moment. Dick decided to go back to school. This was very rare for athletes back then. Dick earned a master's degree from New York University. Then he got a doctorate in education from Fordham University in 1991. Dr. Dick Barnett became a professor at St. John's University. He taught sports management until 2007. Dick also started Fallback Baby Productions. He used this company to write, speak, and help young people. He said people should not be restricted by their environment, perception, or external expectations. This was a powerful message from someone who fought the system and won. Dick's honors kept coming. He was inducted into the Ney Hall of Fame in 1986, the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame in 1993, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in 2005. Finally, in 2024, he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. This came more than 50 years after his last NBA game. Dick Barnett passed away peacefully on April 27, 2025, at age 88. He lived to see his Hall of Fame induction. He lived to see the basketball world finally give him full respect. But we should remember the injustice Dick faced. The reserve clause case showed how players were treated like property. Dick could not choose where to work. He could not negotiate freely. A court said another person owned his right to play basketball. The system was racist too. Dick's college dominance happened at a black school that the NCAA ignored. His professional fight happened because he dared to leave for better opportunities. The whole system was designed to control black athletes. Dick Barnett should be remembered as more than just a great player. He was a man who stood up to an unfair system. He fought for his right to choose his own career. He lost years of his prime to a legal battle that treated him like property. His fallback baby catchphrase was not just about basketball. It was about confidence in the face of injustice. It was about fighting back when the system tried to keep you down. Dick Barnett was a champion, a Hall of Famer, and a doctor of education. But most importantly, he was a man who refused to be owned by anyone. His fight helped pave the way for the free agency that players enjoy today. That is how we should remember Dr. Dick Barnett.